Alright guys, welcome to this video. This is going to be a quick tips video for getting started in WildStar. The first thing you're going to want to do is create your character, obviously. Now do not be worried if you're used to games where you're going to want stat bonuses from the race you pick. Do not worry about that in this game. That is my first tip. Just pick the class you like, pick the race you like, and be done with it. The next thing, when you're choosing a class, you're going to want to pick based on your playstyle. Your first options are going to obviously be what do you actually prefer? Do you want to play ranged? Do you want to play melee? Now you have a few options when you get to that. Your first choice will be melee. So melee, as you see, I've got a warrior. Now that's going to be your first option, and then your next option is going to be stalker. Now the warrior, as you see, uses a two-hand weapon. They're also going to use shields. You know, they're gonna be, if I open up the paths here, you've got your support, do menacing strike, and as you can see, if you look, I'm gonna lose it if I scroll off, that it generates 130% threat. So that tells you that this is going to be a DPS and a tank. So if you're looking to be a tank, you can pick this class. Now, due to the nature of this video, I'm not going to break down, you know, every class. I just happen to be on the warrior here. So we're going to take that into consideration. You've got the stalker, and they're going to have their DPS role, and they're also going to have they're also going to have their second role, which, if I'm not mistaken, is also a tank. Now I haven't played all the classes. I haven't even researched all of them, so I will leave that up to you if you're looking to play something and you want to know what its second ability is. I may do that in the future, but right now this is just a quick getting started. Now your ranged classes, you're going to have engineer. Now engineer, I actually just started playing yesterday, just trying it out, and they use basically a huge gun. Basically look at it as a shotgun, and they can build robots. So if you're used to a pet style class, then you may pick up engineer, but from what I've seen so far, do not expect it, if you're familiar with a hunter and WoW, do not expect it to be like that. And I actually did not go into that class and look at its support, and I know that's shameful, but I'm only like level, I think I may be level 5 now, and I don't consider that a big deal. It's too early to even care. Your next range class, we'll look at Spell Slinger, and Spell Slinger is it's my highest level class. I have some videos up a bit. What they do, they have elemental properties, but they use dual pistols. They have a lot of mobility. You'll notice they don't do a whole lot of damage up front, but their attacks are so fast, they're so mobile, that, you know, it more than makes up for it. Their support ability is healing, and I know that because I picked up some of the skills. They when you're questing, they really supplement. You can take on some of the group content solo if you just have your heals and you use your crowd control. snares, stuns. So that, if you're into ranged and mobile and has a bit of mage flavor to it, that would be where you want to go. The next class to look at would be medic, and that really speaks for itself. It does have a DPS spec, but obviously it is also, a healer, just by the name of the class. The third class, sorry, not third, but the next class is Esper. I'm doing a leveling series on Esper. You can check that out if you want to see more about it. And they're also a DPS healer hybrid. But what makes them different than, say, a spell slinger is they use psychic abilities, I guess you could say. Like their opening skill is they generate, telekinetic knives and swords, and they throw them at the opponent. The big difference between them and the spell slinger is they lack, at the point I'm at in the game, I don't know if it changes, but they do lack the mobility, but they hit harder. So it's a trade-off, and I find it to be actually pretty fun. It's more traditional. You still have your aiming. They can be a medic or healer as well. Now the next thing, just moving right on, is let me get out here. You may have just seen that, but we'll see. We'll run out of the town here. And you're going to need to get used to no tab targeting. You do not need tab. So here we go. We'll look at this guy. And typically you can target them, which, that's typical MMO, but you just may want that for target. But if you see right here, you have this little box, and you're gonna want to aim your attacks to make sure they're there. And that is true with every class in the game. Now some will be straight line attacks, and the one thing I can say to that is, if you're using CC, make sure when you are attacking, if you do not want to break that CC, make sure that you are well away from the CC'd enemy, because there is no way to make this attack just hit one enemy at a time. So you might want to keep that in mind. Now all classes do have their stuns and snares, so don't think that you have to play a certain class if you're into doing crowd control. If you're used to that, all of them get some form. Alright, so the next thing we're going to look at is you have an ability. It's specific to each class. It's going to, by default, be put onto R. It's right here. See, this one's Stance Onslaught. It's on a 1 minute cooldown. And as you see, for the warrior, increases damage dealt by 35%, but it reduces all resistances by 2%. Off the top of my head, the stalker goes into stealth. So what you want to do is you want to make use of these abilities regularly. You definitely want to make sure you're using that. They are really beneficial. In the case of the warrior, you lose all your resistances, so you just may want to weigh that when you're in certain situations. So make sure that you're aware that that is there. The next issue we want to talk about when you're getting started out is if you're going to touch on the PvP. If you're a huge PvPer, if that's why you're here, then you do not have to wait long to get into PvP action. You just have to hit level 6. When you do that, you can use N for a shortcut and bring up your group finder. And you see we've got our rated battlegrounds, our rated arenas, our dungeons, adventures, war plots, but this is where You want to go to practice grounds, and you'll just click join the fight, and you're in. And you do get experience for PvP. So once you hit level 6, if your goal is to level strictly by PvP, then by all means do that, because you can. I may actually make a video series doing that. I haven't decided yet, as I haven't had a whole lot of time to get to max level yet. But I've played several classes through the starting areas, and I thought that this would be a decent video for people starting out, because I've made some mistakes. I also spent too much time worrying about is this class gonna go well with this race. So don't even worry about that. Definitely going back to that. Don't worry about it. Just pick what you like. So the next tip, and this is going to be a big one. I think I have actually mentioned it in a few videos before, and I'm going to mention it again. When you hit B, it brings up your action set builder. Now, you have your action set down here. When you get this set up, you're going to want to use set, because it's not going to carry over. You also want to make sure once you've leveled your path, which I'll get to in just a minute, that you put an ability there. Now, the big key here is if I want to use Savage Strikes and I only have these 5, then I'm going to have to take one off. So let's go ahead and do that. Let's clear Leap. Now, in order to use Savage Strikes, we're going to click the green arrow here, and now you see that it has replaced it. But in order to take that out into the game, you're going to have to click use set. So I'm going to keep Leap for now. And don't think you're limited to these choices. As I just showed you, it's very easy to switch. Now we're going to move over to amps, and this is like, think of it as a traditional talent tree. We have our hybrid here, and if you look, PvP offense, armor pierce, CC resilience. So you can play around with this. I actually haven't set this guy up yet, because I don't play him very often, even though I intend to. But early in the game, with any MMO, if you're familiar with them, you know that it doesn't really matter if you're not keeping on top of things. Back to the action set. As you see, you've got your 3 trees here. Now I'm going to give you a piece of advice, and I've said it before, I'll say it again. I made the mistake. Do not buy every single skill. At level 15, you will go to your capital city and you can buy a mount. Off the top of my head, it's 10 gold. Now 10 gold may not sound like a lot, but when you're building these sets, if every time a skill comes available and you're spending 80 silver, you may find yourself unable to purchase that mount. So my advice to you, save your money, make sure you get the mount. If you don't care about a mount, then by all means buy all the skills. I prefer having a mount. I like to get around faster, so I almost didn't have enough money, and that wasn't because I was buying all the skills, because I wasn't. I was buying them just to try them out. I didn't buy them all. Had I bought them all, I would have been probably nowhere close to getting that mount. So keep that in mind when you're going later in the game. Alright, next little piece of advice is relating to the paths. Now you're going to have 4 paths over here. If you look where my mouse pointer is at, or the cursor, you have your own separate bar for path missions. Now the path missions just vary depending on what you're doing. In this character, he's a soldier, so he'll have things like assassination videos, or not videos, good lord. He'll have assassination missions, which is where I'm assuming this one right here, assassination, Dusk Fang. So I'll have to find this monster or person and take them out, and I'll get XP to go towards my path. They also have like wave-based missions as a soldier, so that's what you can expect as a soldier. If you go into your path set here, you go down to your path, and it'll show you the abilities you have available. The next one, Settler. I only have one. I've only tried that out for a character that's level 6 maybe, and that one, well, I'm just not a fan of that one. But what you'll see in the world is, um, you'll see the little gears all over the place. Those gears will usually just be you picking up some kind of item. When you come to town, there's going to be, and sometimes out in the wilderness too, I believe, is you're gonna have little, like, just little portal-looking things. Let's see if I can see here, right here. This thing. You're gonna see these out here. It's a Settler Depot, and if can set up like a buff. And you'll have options to choose, but they'll have different requirements on how many pieces that you picked up. So if you picked up 10, you might have one option that costs 5, one option that costs 8, and another one that costs 10. So that's something, that's least amount of, well, I won't say least amount of work, but that one's a pretty easy one. But I'm just not a big fan of it. Next is scientists. Scientists get a little robot to scan things in the environment, and that's one of my. I like that one a lot, actually. That one's also, if you're into lore, that would be a good way to go. Is the lore. You scan a lot of objects, you'll hear little tidbits about it. Also, you'll come to places in the game that you can't get into unless you're a scientist. So if you're a soldier, the only way to get in is if you find a scientist to open the door for you, which I find to be really cool. So scientist, probably my favorite of the 4, and that's the one that I seem to have the most fun out of. Now Explorer has a lot to do. I'm not gonna lie, it's got a lot to do. On my highest level character, the Spell Slinger, I've got to where I just ignore the Explorer missions altogether because there's so much to do. From exploring the zone to placing exploration markers. It's just, and it's a variety. It'll ask you to find a cave and explore it. But one of the things I really like about it is I've had several missions with it that will give you a clue where to find something. So you go look for it, you find it, and you move on to the next piece. I like that. It's just a lot of work for that class. And if you pick that up, you may be like me and just end up ignoring it and going back later to finish what you were working on. So that would be your option. Soldier is pretty easy. You just got to find your holdouts, which are a type of mission, your assassination targets. Okay, and the last thing I want to touch on with this video, I may make another video in the future with anything, as I become more experienced or as the game evolves, because we all know they do. The last thing I want to touch on is add-ons. If you are a person who likes add-ons, then you can watch some of my add-on reviews. There'll be more coming, but my big issue with add-ons is if you like to use them, then find the ones that will benefit you starting out. 8th Quest Helper is a big one. Classic Quest Dialogue's a good one, and the Better Quest Log are all ones that I like for leveling. There's another one that I'm going to be picking up called Amp Finder. It'll help you find amps so you can get some more skills out of that talent tree. But just know what you like to play with, what your style is. Curse.com has, I think over 300 add-ons already for the game. So know what you're looking for and go and pick some up. If you don't like add-ons, then just skip them. That's all you really have to do. Alright guys, well, this video ran a little longer than I had hoped. I may do more of these. We'll just have to wait and see on it. Just in the meantime, keep your eye out on my add-on reviews, my Esper leveling series, and just any other random WildStar video that would pop up. Thanks for watching.